What's going on, ladies and gents? Robert Sikes, KetoSavage.com. And on today's episode, I've got my lovely, beautiful, just amazing angel of a wife, Crystal, back in for, I don't even know how many episodes she's done with us now. But this one was a pretty short episode, I think only like 30 or 40 minutes. And the whole point is we're in the new podcast studio. I needed a guinea pig to see if this new video lighting setup was going to work. So we just kind of tested this out. So we put it on YouTube, we put it on the podcast. In the conversation itself, we talked about what we have coming up, what we kind of sacrificed in order to get to this building, to this new compound 2.0. We talked about some homesteading stuff, some life stuff, some personal stuff we have in the pipeline. She's going to be coming on to the podcast in a few weeks to talk about some really big news that we have, some very exciting news, but I didn't want to dive into that just yet. So this was kind of more of a teaser episode of what is to come. But I'm super excited about the new studio, and I just wanted to test it out. So by all means, please give us your feedback if you like it or if you don't, and we will be doing much more involved podcasts going forward. Always a pleasure talking to my lovely wife, Crystal. Hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast with Crystal. All right, and we're live. What's up, baby? So this is kind of a trial run here. We're in the new podcast studio. We've got our cameras looking at us. We got Chip in the room, in the building, recording us. We're trying things out in the new studio. Can you hear me okay, babe?
Mm-hmm. Can hear you perfectly.
Hopefully people that are listening in can hear us okay. But this was supposed to be episode 400 of the Keto Savage podcast, but the episode that I had slated for $3.99 had to get rescheduled, so now this is $3.99. So
we just thought $3.99 sounded cooler.
I think $3.99 is a pretty cool number, personally. But a lot has happened. We haven't done a podcast with you and me in a while now, right?
Yeah.
It's probably
it's been a while.
I think it was like episode 200 or something that we did together.
I think so.
So a lot has happened since then. This is like the first video attempt at the podcast. There's going to be a lot more of these if this works out well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely let us know if you like it. But let's dive into what the past several months has consisted of as it relates to us, the business, the bricks, the apparel, Lady Savage, what I've got cooking with Keto Savage. For anybody that doesn't know, everybody knows who you are. I would hope. If you're listening to my platform, you hopefully know who Crystal is.
Maybe unless this is their first time listening in.
Yeah, you want to give us like a quick little Reader's Digest, high-level view version of who you are?
I don't know that I have one of those, but I'm Crystal Sikes. I am Robert's wife, the better half. Yeah, Robert and I have pretty much built Keto Brick, Love Savage Apparel, so on, all together. And just partners in crime over here. Partners in crime.
Yep. Our life has been in utter chaos for the past few months because of this whole move to the new compound 2.0. And we're now in the compound 2.0, but it has not been an easy journey in getting here. And this has played a pretty pivotal role in what we're doing going forward, but it's not been an easy transition for our relationship. So you want to kind of talk about that?
Not in a bad way. You're making it sound like, yeah, we hate each other now.
No, not in a bad way at all. But I think a lot of people see us, and you and I try to be incredibly transparent on all of our profiles, all of our platforms, and not make things anything that are not accurate. However, I feel like a lot of people see that through rose-colored glasses, and they don't see like all the sacrifice that's made from like a personal standpoint. When you do own a business, when you relocate a business, when you do all this stuff that we do, and me, like I was born to be an entrepreneur, so I just freaking live and breathe it. But you were not so much. So this episode could really encompass some of the sacrifices that are made from like behind the scenes standpoints. You want to dive into that?
Sure. You might have to prompt me because I'm not sure I can just come up with things on a whim. But yeah, it is very different, especially since like you are so business minded and I've not always been that way. I'm still not really that way. I kind of just go with the flow. But it definitely was tough, especially because we had so many other people relying on us that I feel like we put ourselves last. because we wanted to make sure that everyone else was taken care of and everything else was good, and things just kept like messing up and not going the right way and all that. So I just feel like you and I tend to put ourselves on the back burner, and that's okay, because that's what we've chosen to do. But it does not mean that it's not easy.
Well, it's crazy because like we have 6 employees. There's 2 of us. We're employees of the company, and then we have 6 other employees, and we don't have kids. But I feel like, not that our employees are our kids, but we talk about our employees like I would imagine people talk about their kids. Like, there is no disconnect from work life to personal life. Like, we're at home sitting on the porch having our cup of coffee, and we're talking about, hey, I wonder how Chip's doing. I wonder how Dylan's doing. I wonder how Kevin's liking the new digs that he's at. And I feel like a lot of people don't recognize that. It's like people that work a 9 to 5, they punch the clock at the end of the day. They go home and they do whatever they want to do from a personal standpoint. And we don't have this punch the clock phenomenon. Like, there is no punching of the clock. It's just life punching us every single day.
We have tried to put a little bit more of a line down now that we've moved, because we now have a house and we're not living in the warehouse anymore. Let's
talk about that.
What?
That's a worthwhile conversation right there. We lived in a warehouse for 3 years.
Yeah, sure did.
I didn't hate that. I don't think you loved it.
I didn't love it. So, okay, let's get this clear. When we moved into the warehouse, we agreed on 1 year. And then after the first year, it was like, well, that wasn't that bad. Maybe we could do it for 2 more, but I don't know. Let's play with our options. And then we just thought, that's silly. We're here all the time. Why would we get an apartment or a house down the road or whatever? We're going to be moving soon anyways in a couple years. So let's just keep this up. And we did. And it was an adventure. There was definitely some pieces that were not easy. And people would come over and visit and be like, hey, this isn't that bad. Like, oh, yeah, this is kind of cool. And what they don't see is the fact that you can't get away from work. You can't get away from all the things that you do every single day. And you have to think it's a business building. So like when you're going to bed at night, someone thinks that it's a business. So in my mind, every single night, like I don't know how my anxiety was not through the roof, because I was
through the roof.
I was so anxious that someone was going to break into our building because they thought it was a business and nobody would be there at night. So I had a lot of anxiety about that. We didn't have a regular kitchen, so I cooked everything on what was that? Like, what is that little thing called?
Just like a little induction.
Yeah, induction burner. Like a single induction burner. We had like this little tiny oven thing.
There's a funny story about this. There's lots of funny stories about this, but there was one that stands out. On one of our anniversaries, you were like, I can't stand having our anniversary in this warehouse building. I got to make it look special.
It was COVID.
Yeah, that was it. It was our anniversary, but we couldn't go out to eat because COVID had just happened and none of the restaurants were open. So you were like, I don't want to eat in the warehouse. I don't want to eat in the office. So you went and got a bunch of sheets and you tried to hang sheets up from the ceiling around our dining table, which was our conference table.
Yeah.
So that we could just look at sheets instead of the normal.
I just was like trying to make it nice, and I was going to like have candles out and stuff, and the sheets kept falling down. And I just ended up
So we're sitting here at the conference table trying to eat, and our sheets keep falling from the tiles. I mean, it was kind of laughable, but
it was pretty funny.
I thought it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. And we didn't have a dishwasher, so we'd have to take all of our dishes from one building into the next building to wash all of our dishes or do all of our laundry or whatever. It was really interesting. We went down the road and we went to a furniture store? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about, they're like, oh, I think some people live in that building over there. And we're like, oh, huh, that's weird. Yeah, that wouldn't be us, but
yeah, it was, I don't know, that I think when we look back, and for people that don't know the very beginning, the reason when we first got in that building, we were planning on getting an apartment, and we applied for an apartment that was right down the road from those buildings, and they wouldn't approve us because we didn't have pay stubs. Mm-hmm. So here we are, 1 year into the business, just simply trying to make ends meet, moved in this building because it was really good from a business standpoint, and we're trying to find a place to stay, but they wouldn't approve us for the apartment lease because we didn't have pay stubs because we've been working in the business.
Technically, we weren't employees of the business, nor were we working anywhere else. So it was just kind of like a really weird situation. But
Yeah, and we had just done a launch when we applied for that apartment, and we showed them the launch documents that like how much money we had brought in from the launch, and they still wouldn't approve us. Like I offered to pay for the entire year's lease up front, and they still wouldn't approve us, which really just pissed me off because it's like the world conspires against you if you're simply trying to own your own business and do your own thing. It's like the system doesn't want you to succeed. It funnels you into this, protocol. You go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, you work a 9 to 5, and it's not set up for success if you're trying to do your own thing, which is why so many people don't do their own thing, because they start getting met with these roadblocks and hurdles right at the gates. But like the people that push past that and start seeing momentum gained after they get through that hurdle, that's where the magic happens right there.
Yeah, that's true.
But all that to say, we are now in the new compound. We have a house. Talk about the house. I mean, I'm always talking about the building. You talk about the house.
Well, we got our house back in December, and I kind of spent the earlier part of this year painting literally every room, every cabinet, everything, our fireplace, all of that. And so it was kind of already like move-in ready by the time we got up here. We just had to move in a couple of things like our bed and clothes and things like that. But I love our home so much. It's just nice. Like, I feel like I finally have a little place to it's not escape, but just enjoy a little place to where I can go sit on the back porch at the end of the night, and I can sit on the front porch with a cup of coffee in the morning, and I can look out and see our land and think, soon we're going to have chickens and pigs and all that stuff that I've always wanted. So it's pretty cool.
I think, like our house is 9 minutes from the building, which is nice because it's not too far, not too close. A little bit of separation. It's on just over 5 acres. The house is nothing special. Like, it's a little bitty house. There's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, but it's like, I don't even know what the square footage is, but it's nothing fancy.
Yeah, the bedrooms are pretty tiny.
Yeah, bedrooms are super small. Bathrooms are small. Like, the living room and the kitchen and dining room are all open. One room, basically. But I freaking love it because it's so simple, it's so clean, it's so us. You did literally paint every single room inside and out, and it's on enough land for us to kind of get our hands dirty, do some work, do some physical labor, cut some trees down, bush hog some brush, and then just disconnect on the weekends. But I'm excited, as I know you are, to when we start getting things settled in, especially next year, we're gonna start growing a garden. We're gonna have chickens. What all are we going to get? What's the plan right now?
So I think we're going to do a garden and chickens first. And then I think pigs would be the next easiest thing. And we would like to get a couple of cows, but we have a guy that we know that might come over to our place and kind of figure out, like, with the amount of land that we have that's cleared, how many cows that we can get, what's going to be kind of proper, I guess, for the proper amount of land per animal. We've talked about getting goats or lambs or something like that. But we kind of just need to have someone over who can look at our land and say, okay, if you want to have 3 animals, you need to clear a little bit more land or not. There's so Robert cleared a ton. How much do you think you cleared? There's a pretty good bit of land that's cleared in the front of the house. Yeah.
But then there's a bunch of thicket down in the bottom half, and I could tell when we were looking at the property before we ever bought it that it was mostly small saplings that could be bush hogged. So once we bought the property, that was one of the first things we did. And there's probably 2, maybe 1.5, 2 acres down there that are bush hogged and pretty much a field now. So that can be fenced in for animals.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of cleared land right around the house, like for the garden and for the chickens and pigs and things like that. And then further down, there's like another acre. And then further down from that, there's a bunch of rocky areas. Like Northwest Arkansas is like super rocky in the first place, but there's huge rocks down there. So we haven't cleared down there at all. And then right on the other side of those rocks, you can climb through those and the trees and whatever. And there's a little creek in the back, which is kind of cool. I want to open that up and so we can go down there anytime.
I would like to get like some covered awnings in the backyard so we can have like a spot for grilling, et cetera, and then have some chairs in the creek, or not in the creek, but right there by the creek so that we can look at the creek. But waking up, having coffee on the front porch in the morning time when the sun's coming up, and then having a well-deserved glass of whiskey with some Zevia Coke on the back porch watching the sunset after a day of yard work is a nice way to cap off the day on our property for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, let's talk about the building. I want to talk about the building.
No, of course you do.
I want to hear your thoughts on the building. Like, all I do is talk about the building. What do you think about it?
I love it. I think it's great. There's definitely still some things that we are working on, kind of finalizing and things like that. I think that'll make a huge difference, but I love it. It's been a journey getting here, especially the last few months. It's been a little bit of a headache, but I love it. I love the gym. I love the kitchen. The kitchen looks so clean and crisp and just like perfect. By the kitchen, I mean the Keto Brick kitchen, manufacturing kitchen. I think that we could not have gotten a better kitchen. I think that's like my favorite part, I think. And I spend not as much time in there as I do everywhere else. And then the gym's pretty cool. Excited to get some more equipment and fill that thing up. And my office area I haven't figured out just yet. It's a little dark and there's like a couple things that I need to fix and figure out, but we are so busy on the day to day or working on different things that the last thing on my mind is to like decorate or, you know, put up lights or whatever. So, but I love it. I think it's great.
Well, this spot is quite an upgrade from what we were in, because what we were in, we had 3 separate buildings. Each one, I think, was like 3,000 square feet, something like that. I think we had like 7,500 square feet total amongst the 3 buildings because we only had half of one building, whereas this building is all under one roof, one building, and it's just shy of 15,000 square feet, I'm pretty sure. It's also on 4 acres, so we could add to it if we needed to in the future. But yeah, our kitchen space is colossal compared to what we had before, so lots of room to expand the Keto Brick production. The gym is, I think, 3 times bigger than what it was, so we've got this whole MMA section that's we're going to get mats down for MMA. We've got several punching bags, a climbing rope. Chip's big in MMA, so he's teaching us all how to box and strike and all that good stuff. So I'm excited about that. And then we're going to get a leg press for you, I think, is your preferred next to piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So we'll get a leg press that converts into a hack squat. I do want to get like a legit Olympic bench press so we don't have to use a squat rack for bench press work. That way we can free up the squat rack more. Those are the next. I would love to get that vertical hack squat at some point. Those are probably the next things for the gym. Stairmaster for when I do my next prep, and I have Stairmaster for cardio. But the apparel section is something I'm super excited about because we have Live Savage apparel, and we did a few launches of that. But in the past, we had to outsource all of our production. Like we bought shirts and had to send them somewhere to get printed because I didn't have a printing press. And then some of the stuff that's like the sportswear stuff we've outsourced and had manufactured in different countries. And I've never liked outsourcing anything. That's why I like the bricks so much, because we produce them in-house. And yesterday, we just purchased a ton of screen printing equipment. So we got a printing press, we got a flash dryer, we got exposure unit, we got a washout booth, we got all the stuff necessary to start printing our own shirts. So Bryson's going to step away from the kitchen a little bit, start printing our own shirts. I'm going to be right there printing shirts with him. We've got a whole section of the building that's going to be designated for just screen printing. We're going to have one of the freezers that we have here turned into a dark room. So that's going to be super awesome, have our own designated dark room out of all the freezer space that we have that doesn't need to get used. And I think that may be one of the things I'm most excited about, because so many people, I mean, you read the emails probably more than I do, but people have been craving more Live Savage shirts, right?
Yeah, mostly Lady Savage stuff, but it's fine.
Mostly Lady Savage stuff. Well, we'll get some Lady Savage stuff too, but it's crazy.
I think that I'm super excited about the apparel because we've never had a designated space for the apparel. It's always been like a small area of this, or like, oh, maybe we can like weasel our way and put it in over here. But now we actually have an entire gigantic room for it. I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm excited about, I feel like this will allow us to provide more options too. Like before we would launch like one item and then we'd have that, and we're like trying to, get people to purchase those things before we get the next thing, and being able to screen print it ourselves and not have to buy it from, someone else where it's already printed and whatever, is going to be a lot easier. We'll have a lot more options, I feel.
Should I tease what our first launch on the apparel is going to be?
No.
I shouldn't?
Maybe. I don't know. It's up to you.
I think I want to tease it just a little bit. So we have like my manifesto for this year was the 365 Savage. And basically I committed to doing several things like running a mile every single day, training in some form or fashion every single day, publishing some form of content every single day. But basically all these things I committed to doing every single day of the year, thus the 365 Savage. So we're going to make an apparel launch, and one of the things on that shirt is going to be 365 Savage. But then going forward, the main text of the shirt is going to be this unique, hand-painted saying or quote or belief system that is in line with that 365 Savage philosophy. And we're only going to print a certain number of these shirts, so each run of that 365 Savage line is going to be a designated run. There's not going to be any more once that's printed, so it's pretty much going to be like first come, first serve on that. But I feel like that's something I can get behind and wear with pride because it's in line. Like if you wear that shirt, you embrace that ethos and you stand by what that saying is, whatever that saying is on that particular shirt, and it's in line with that 365 Savage mentality. And I'm just excited about it. Like I'm excited for my entire wardrobe to be badass, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But we'll print some Lady Savage stuff too. We'll get some pink shirts now. I'll rock a pink shirt. I look pretty good in pink, don't you think?
Yeah.
Talk about Lady Savage. What we got going on there?
Oh boy, Lady Savage. There's going to be a lot of things changing with Lady Savage going into this next year. Not any of which I want to talk about, I think, yet. I'm not just ready yet.
You gonna not tease it at all, huh?
No, I'm not a teaser. Robert likes to tease things or put it out there and say like, "Oh, we're gonna do this thing," and I'm like, "I did this thing. Here you go." That's kind of how I go. So
we do have some exciting things though that nobody knows about yet.
Yeah.
And I guess I should stop talking before I spill the beans.
Yeah. So, I will definitely be changing a few things, or a lot of things, but I'm excited about it all. I'm super excited about it all. I think it'll be really good. I am investing my time and money into a couple of things that I feel like I've been putting off for a while, and so I'm really excited about those.
Yeah, it'll be good. I feel like you bring to the table a unique niche or brand or style that a lot of people in the keto space, the health space, the female fitness space aren't bringing. And you and I talk about this a lot, but there's like a lot of this, like you're all about empowering women. I think we should all be about empowering anybody, regardless of their sex, but you do so in a way that is very much so not jump down your throat, force it down you. I don't know, like you let your actions speak louder than your words, and I appreciate that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, there's definitely a huge movement. It's a lot like that self-care, self-love movement, which I think is totally a fine thing, but I've made a couple of posts and things about how I disagree with the way that the majority of people are going about it, because it seems it is very self-centered, and I get a lot of flack for that, but it is very self-centered, and I think there's a way of going about these things in a different manner to make it not selfish. And if you want to be a selfish person, that's fine. My goal in life is to not be a selfish person. I feel like I am supposed to be selfless, and anything that I'm trying to better in myself is so that I can better myself for the world or the people around me, or serve people better, or whatever it is. So I feel like I just think a little bit differently than a lot of people, or it can be the same word, but I tend to bend it a different direction. And I like that about myself, but it's also a little bit hard because it's not common. It's not popular. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you can go do all these things and that it's okay for yourself to be selfish, to, all that. I don't know. And same thing with women empowerment. Like there's a whole huge movement of women empowerment and, feminism and things like that, which I don't agree with a lot of it, but I do agree with some of it. And the stance that I have on some of it, I find very important and very I don't know the right words, how to break it down correct, or,
Well, it's a tricky topic to talk about because
It
people get
is.
their feathers all ruffled.
They do.
And with regard to the, self-care, self-love thing, like I'm in 100% agreement that you have to have a solid foundational base before you can offer care and help and guidance to others. Like you got to get your own stuff figured out before you can, do any extreme good in the world. However, that doesn't come at the expense of simply being a good person to others. Like a lot of people took that initial statement and ran with it, and they're like, okay, I got to be a dick to everybody and really just focus on me, and that's going to be better for everybody, which is not the case at all.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be focused on adding as much value as possible, and in doing that, you kind of figure out who you are on a deeper level, and then you inherently build your foundation stronger. And I feel like that's just better anyways. Like then, like anything that we've ever done, we've always tried to focus on, is this improving our fellow human's life, our fellow man's life, fellow woman's life, our fellow person's life? And I feel like because of that, anything that we do has been much more fulfilling for us selfishly because we're helping others selflessly. And I feel like that's just a better way to go about it,
Yeah, it is a tricky topic, and I hope anyone listening to this isn't getting our points incorrectly. And I'm not saying that anyone is wrong in their own way. It might be a better option for them. But there is definitely a lot that can be persuaded to go the wrong direction. Like, even as simple as this. When someone tells you, don't care about what other people think and go do your own thing, it doesn't mean I don't care about what you think. I'm going to wag my head and my finger and get all sassy with you. It means do your own thing because you're the only person that's going to have your own back. So go do what's going to make you proud and be confident in that. It doesn't mean be sassy to everyone who disagrees with you. It means treat them with kindness, but move forward in a confident way. So it's very interesting. Some stuff, social media just kind of mixes things together, and lots of different people and different ideas and things like that, which, again, I'm not saying anyone's wrong. I have a different way of going about things.
Well, social media is tough because it takes, and I had this conversation the other day on a podcast, but like people grab these little soundbite tidbits of information, throw that out there, and people take it and run with it, and it doesn't really ever give the full contextual story, and that oftentimes does more harm than good. You see this all the time, like in the keto space right now. Like keto, the ketogenic diet has been so bastardized. Like nobody even knows what ketogenic diet is anymore because there's a version of keto for everybody. There's a high fat keto, there's a high protein keto, there's a high carb keto, and it's like I'm all for people having this individuality, learning what's best for them, and manipulating things accordingly, but not at the expense of this identity politics game in which nothing stands for anything anymore. Because if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. And I feel like people are letting that take hold of them across the spectrum in all different industries and all different niches and all different, genres. And it's diluting the quality that is there and should stay there. So yeah, I kind of digress here. I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I don't want this podcast to be too long because we're going to do another back-to-back podcast very soon. This is like a tester episode because you and I are going to have a very in-depth podcast in the very near future about something very, very important that nobody knows about. So I don't want to talk, too long-winded here. Save it all for that. But what do you think so far of this setup? Is this comfortable? You like it?
Yeah, I like it. I think I probably would have moved my mic a little bit.
I think you can move your mic. Yeah.
I didn't want to cause too much ruckus.
I feel like my lower back would get tired if I was doing this long term. I need to get like some fancy chairs, some Joe Rogan style chairs.
Can, like, sit back.
Yeah. Are we out of the frame, Chip, if I sit back?
You are out of, now you're good in your frame.
I'm good in my frame.
Oh.
So anyways, for people listening and watching right now, let us know what you think of this video style podcast. What I would like to do, and Crystal was the first guest to test it out here, but what I'd like to do is start flying guests in and then creating this experience around the Keto Savage podcast so that it's not just simply a 45 to an hour and 20 minute, discussion about ketogenic diet or whatever. We'll still do them because not everybody's going to be able to fly in. We'll still do the Zoom calls, but a Zoom call, like it's very hard to have a long Zoom call. Like once you get beyond an hour on a Zoom call, it winds up being like, good gosh, this thing's dragging on for an hour. And when you're scheduling with people on a Zoom call, nobody ever expects it to last longer than an hour. But with flying people in, I want to have this like awesome experience, like work out with them, shoot the bow with them, go on a run with them, go camping, go, do something, go sailing, and then just kind of figure out who they are at the core. And then after all that, bring them in, sit them down for a podcast, and it'd be a much longer format, much deeper level podcast that is able to just kind of dive into a variety of topics on a much deeper level. Much richer conversation, I feel, will come from that. Mm-hmm. We're also going to have a big TV in the back there instead of that picture of me, so that we can pull up any scientific studies or relevant information as we're talking here. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I think the podcast, of all the different mediums for content, the podcast is my largest. It's the one I'm probably most excited about. Although I will say we got some pretty cool stuff coming for the YouTube channel. Having Chip be a wizard with the camera is going to totally up the YouTube game. And all the podcasts that are video are also going to be published on YouTube. Yeah. You've got a bunch of Lady Savage stuff in the works from a content creation standpoint, but like you said, we can't tease that too much. But there's going to be a lot in the pipeline coming. So kind of going back to that manifesto, the 365 Savage is about to take on a whole new meaning now that we're here at the Compound 2.0 and that we have the foundation in front of us. We got work to do, and I'm excited to get it done. So that said, Crystal, always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on for $3.99.
$3.99. Yeah. Well, you'll be on again for like $4.05 or something like
that.
So
a couple weeks.
Good. It'll be good. Thank y'all for tuning in. As always, if you're, I don't ever really like trying to market the podcast. Like if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening in on iTunes or whatever.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Or however. Chip's been trying to get me to
also,
do that more.
You guys should leave a review. I love reading Robert's reviews. Some of them are funny. Some of them are just really sweet. But
we ought to just like pull up our last. Let's just look at our last review. This could be like a cool little way to end this episode, because I don't ever look at these. All right. So how do you do this? You go to the podcast, because I think the way the reviews work is, at least on iTunes, you just submit a review if you listen to the podcast. Or something like that. I'm not sure. And
you can leave a review on like one podcast episode, but it reviews the entire podcast. So if you're just reviewing on one single episode, like you decided you hated me and you wanted to say like, I hated Crystal, that was the worst, 1 star, that rates the entire podcast. So if you like Robert in general, don't give him 1 star. That's silly.
Yeah. So we have 360 ratings, which is pretty good, I guess. One of them says just wow, 5 stars. Robert always brings such knowledgeable guests. I guess you're a knowledgeable guest, babe. So yeah, if y'all want to do that, it doesn't go unnoticed. We certainly appreciate it. We'll have like an episode in which you just read all the reviews, all the funny ones.
Yeah, I should. I'll just gather all of the funny ones and then just list them off. They are pretty hilarious.
Here's a 1 star. Like this podcast, however, it's getting a little political lately. I don't need to know your job or thoughts on the current status of the political world. I don't really think I talked
that
too much
one really
politics.
Cracked me up, and it was only because it was one episode. There's been no politics on here, at all. But there was one episode where one individual had a job. What was their job again?
Contact tracer.
Contact tracer for COVID, and they talked about their job. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing. People want to know about all the stuff going on in the world. And if you are literally listening to the one person who that's their job, I think it's kind of cool. Whether you like their job or not, it's still a thing that you're probably interested in. You got to listen to all sides of things. So
I will say
that one cracked me up.
Yeah, like the whole point of this podcast and longer format mediums to begin with is to bring people on of varying backgrounds, of different belief systems, of different opinions, and my goal as the host of the show is to let them have a comfortable environment to just speak their mind and bring their perspective to the table. There's a lot of podcasts out there that just bring on people that are in 100% of agreement to what they've been preaching their whole life, and it just becomes this echo chamber in which no new ideas or growth is possible. And I've intentionally brought on people that I know I disagree with, just so that I can pick their brain and understand where they're coming from. And I feel like there's a lot more to gain from that. So you and I have a lot of differences, but I didn't really expect that with this podcast to be having a bunch of,
We don't have that many differences. You're making us sound like we hate each other.
No. I love you, babe. All right. So where can people go to find out more about you? Follow along.
LadySavage.com, the.lady.savage on Instagram. I have a Lady Savage Facebook group, and that's it for now.
Boom. All right. See y'all next time.